spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who gather here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. Let's light our chalice. Who's going to light our chalice? Lisa.
I think one of the fun things when you do the chalice lighting for me is that I get to do some research and I find some really interesting things. And so when I was looking for what I wanted to do for the chalice lighting, I Googled poems as they related to tolerance, and lots of things came up. But this one came up and I felt like it was very UU, so I want to read this to you now. The name of the poem is Tolerance. In a world diverse, where beliefs collide, a tapestry of faith woven side by side. Religious freedom, a sacred plea, a hymn of tolerance for all to see. In temples, mosques, and churches tall, in every heart a spiritual call. A chorus of prayers in different tongues, harmony and diversity where every soul belongs. Let not intolerance cast its shadow, for in the embrace of freedom we all grow. Respect the sacred in each tradition, for love and understanding our true mission. Let the light of acceptance brightly shine, in every creed a connection divine. Freedom to choose in worship and thought, a tapestry of beliefs intricately wrought. From the sunrise prayers to the midnight hymns, let compassion be the anthem that wins. In the sanctuary of faith, let hearts unite, breaking barriers, reaching a celestial height. In the garden of diversity, let flowers bloom, a fragrant offering dispelling gloom. For every soul, a unique journey to trace. In the symphony of religions, find grace. Religious freedom, a gift so divine, in this sacred dance, let unity twine. Let respect and understanding lead the way in this world of faith where all hearts may sway. And this was written by Naya Joseph.
Thank you, Lisa. She's doing double duty. She's going to light the chalice and run back over here and run the PowerPoint. Join with me, please. We light the chalice for the light of truth. We light the chalice for the warmth of love. We light the chalice for the energy of action. We light the chalice for harmony and peace. Ours is a spiritual community where we find the connection, a welcoming community where we find meaning. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of each other in this community. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow, raise your hand and Nick will give you the microphone.
Probably already know most of you what I'm going to say, because if you had it to you, John, in the bulletin, that Becky did become a grandmother last weekend after a pretty long wait, and so that's not news probably to most of the congregation, but the two questions that I've had this morning, I thought I'd better answer. First, the child's name. Next name. And the second question is, when is Becky coming home? And the answer to that is Wednesday morning on a red-eye flight from Portland. So she'll be back with us next time.
Derek, the baby's name again?
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Yeah. The middle name I didn't quite catch. It's Asbecky. It's unusual.
So Aspen, an aspect, oh, Aspen, okay.
Yeah, I think is Phoebe a bird, a bird's name?
Yeah.
This middle name is also a bird's name, that's all I can tell you. So Becky's obviously very happy, so are the parents, and you'll see her soon.
Now, our reading is 6:02. This is Don. He doesn't consider himself, or I'm sorry, Lao Tse doesn't consider himself a founder of Taoism, because he didn't see himself as a teacher of anything new. He saw himself as a transmitter of very ancient wisdom. So he didn't call himself a teacher, he just called himself a transmitter. So this is from Lao Tse, deep in the heart of the Chinese psyche. If there is to be peace. So join with me with a responsive reading. If there is to be peace in the world,
There must be peace in the nations.
if there is to be peace in the nations,
There must be peace in the cities.
if there is to be peace in the cities,
There must be peace between neighbors.
if there is to be peace between neighbors,
There must be peace in the home.
if there is to be peace in the home,
There must be peace in the heart.
now, if you would, just turn over and look 7 pages inside of your hymnal. They're not numbered, so you have to tell them. Because they're going to look at our principles. And that's what I'm doing a series of talks and reflections on our Unitarian Universalist principles. And we looked at the inherent worth and dignity of every person last time we met, the very first principle. You look up at the very top, in the big letters, we, the members of the congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote. And our first principle is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This morning we're going to reflect on that second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Now, the reason I chose that reading from Lao Tse is because it's really telling us that everything begins with you and me. Whether we're talking about justice or compassion or equity or whatever, or peace or freedom, that they all have their source in us. And we can't expect or wait for somebody out there to live out these ideals, that we have to start here. The simple realization, you can't give what you don't have. If you don't have a sense of self-worth, you can't give that to others. If you don't have a sense of self-respect and dignity. That was his question. And so the first person he comes across, he puts the question to them, what do you think are the 2 most pressing issues facing our world today? And the guy says, I don't know, and I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care. Bingo. Think about all the problems facing the world today. Climate change, wars, famine, polarization in our own country. Don't you think probably that they all go back to those two most pressing issues? I don't care, and I don't know, and I don't wanna know. An intentional ignorance, intentional ignorance. It's, the saying is, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is the illusion of bliss. Ignorance is the illusion of bliss. And then I don't care. We call that apathy and indifference. I really don't care what happens. For example, I really don't care what happens to the immigrants in this country. I don't really care what happens to people over in the Middle East. I really don't care about my neighbor because they voted for who. So I kind of want to approach these principles, our principle, the one that we promote and affirm, sort of from the opposite direction, if you know what I mean. And talk not about, or to approach it from that angle of this, I don't know and I don't care, to this principle of I want to know, I do know, and I want to care. And I wanted to say, first of all, how painful that can be sometimes. That you almost invite suffering into your life when you really care and you really want to know. And so I would add to this principle, we affirm and promote, but that we also encourage. Courage, the word courage, we don't discourage, we encourage ourselves to struggle to get to that place where we do know we do care and we respond to the world around us with empathy and compassion and equity. Equity is different from equality, because equity is the striving and the struggle to get to the place where the playing field is level, Equity is getting to that place where people have equal opportunity to bring to fruition all their gifts and graces. And that's the American dream. The American dream, and to put it in a nutshell, the American dream is self-actualization. That's the American dream. If you read Martin Luther King, you find it. If you read the founding parents, mothers and fathers, you find it. The American dream is to come to a place where you're given the opportunity through education, through rights under the law, through all that, you're given the opportunity to bring to actualization all the potential within you. And you can just imagine if we had a country where every human being was able to fulfill that potential. What a beautiful, great country we could have if we had that. So to get there, to get to that place, takes the courage to embrace these values and try our best to live them in our own lives. And sometimes we fail. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we have regrets. When we could have reached out with empathy, we stood back and just kind of watched. Or, I was watching The View, those women on View, the caption underneath, 100 million Americans are not watching the news anymore. Now, I'm totally sympathize with that. Really. But, I understand it can be a self-help measure, It can be a defense mechanism. But it can also fall into the category of, I don't want to know what's going on up there among the leaders. So I'm going to turn it off. And I've been doing that. Told my wife, I said, I'm not going to watch the news anymore because I don't want to know. But of late, I've said, okay, Ernie, muster up the courage to look at it. And even if it's shocking to you, even if the chaos and the insanity is going to shock you, go ahead, look at it. And you know, one of my favorite leaders of this country, Pete Buttigieg, has said to all of us, get past the shock and get up and do something. Organize. Get up and do something. So don't fall into this category of I don't know and I don't care. Have the courage to know. I mean, know it all as much as you can. And get past it to find a way that we can resist in a non-violent way. You know? One of my favorite heroes of American culture, you probably know this by now, is Martin Luther King Jr. He organized the people to resist to the cruelty that was being unleashed, to resist to that in a non-violent way, in a compassionate way, in a way of empathy. You know, I believe empathy is, there's an empathetic nerve in our body. I really do. I believe we're born, every child born in this world is born with that empathetic nerve. Y'all know what that means. It means, you know, the way the Native American Indians said, you know, walk in this other person's moccasins, and then you'll experience what they've experienced. You know, empathy. Empathy is, you know, comes from the word in. You're walking in another person's shoes. And I believe that sense of empathy is deep within us. That feeling that sort of feeling that of what I would call the solidarity of the human race, that we're all connected. And what I do to this person over here, I've in a sense done to myself, you know, because of that solidarity of the human species. And I believe every child is born with that sense of empathy, and that sense that we're all one, you know, we're all together. Like that song, you know, we are the boat, we are the sea, I sail in you, and you sail in me. Or the teaching of Jesus, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because they are in a sense you. You know, the old saying, what goes around comes around, you know. Or the chickens have come home to roost, or however you will say that, what goes around comes around, you know. So if you want to see the change in the world, you have to be that change. You have to be the person. If you're surrounded in a mass of hatred and fear, you have to be the one that brings compassion. You know, we're not going to change the world by changing billions of people all at one time. We change the world one by one. We change one by one. And that's the other thing Pete said. Talk to each other. Talk to every American. Don't be afraid. Don't accept this, I don't know, I don't care. Talk to them. Don't be afraid. Martin Luther King reminded us of that innate quality that we're all born with when he said this: we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny, moving along. Injustice anywhere is a threat to injustice everywhere. Apathy anywhere is apathy everywhere. Inequality here is inequality out there. Everywhere. Everything touches everything by invisible threads. We have our work cut out for us. But we can do it. In our closing speech, closing speech, but in her acceptance speech, Kamala said that the stars shine brightest when the skies are the darkest. And we have to be those stars. And we have to embrace that and find the courage within us, not to withdraw, not to pull back, not to fall in this two most pressing problems facing our world today. I don't know and I don't care. We can't get back there. So our principle is a challenge to us to take a stand on the side of justice, equity, and compassion. You know, ever since Socrates, Plato wrote the Republic, that's a stupid book. Because the mentality there is if we can just get the right definition of justice, we've arrived. If we can just define it, give it a good dictionary definition, and we all agree on that definition, we're there. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that these are academic affairs, trying to figure out what these words mean, If we can just define these words, then we're going to be there. No. We can come up with all the great operational definitions of justice we want to. But until we find that empathetic nerve, until we reawaken that empathetic nerve, justice is not a definition. Justice is not up here. Justice, they're all here in the heart, the seat of compassion. What Buddha talked about, awakening that seed of compassion in the heart. And I can guarantee you, it'll hurt. It'll be painful. But you'll be rewarded. You'll go to heaven when you die. Just kidding. No, we'll talk about that later, but Unitarian Universalists come to, I'm getting off target now. They come to this intersection, and this sign says to heaven, and this sign says to a discussion about heaven. We're going to go that way. No, I believe virtue is its own reward, and virtue is its own reward. That okay, people say, well, you're self-centered when you're doing it. No, taking care of yourself is taking care of others. When you take care of yourself, you are taking care of others. And then back again to that self-actualization. When you self-actualize, you bring all your gifts and talents to the culture you live in. Whatever they do. Now, when I think talents, I don't think dancing and singing and playing the guitar. I think talent is a metaphor of just that self you have to bring and give. Okay, I need to stop. I hope nobody has a hand in the oven. We're going to even sing right now. This little light of mine, hymn number 118. I'm just glad nobody said amen, because saying amen to a preacher is like saying sick 'em to a dog. KG. Sing along with us, it's page 118. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. The first verse, one more time. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. With this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way from here. Hold on to my hand, even when I've gone away from you. It's by Nancy Ward. Take a few moments does anybody want to react to anything that was said? Questions, comments, or even opposing viewpoints are welcome. But you better watch out if you disagree with the preacher.
Well, while you were talking, it came to mind an article that I read in our Unitarian magazine, which came recently, and I picked it up the other day, and I read this article about in New England early in the election, pre-election, they organized a democracy fair. And I thought that was an interesting way to think about getting together. It's more like educating people again about our democracy. And maybe that's what we need more of these days. Because a lot of us are concerned about the kind of thinking that's going on in the groups that are getting organized, and it's very negative to our democracy.
Thank you, Annie. Nance?
She doesn't really need that, I realize.
So,
You mentioned Martin Luther King a lot. I went to school with his daughter in Atlanta. They were the first black family to integrate a white school in Atlanta. And his daughter was just a jewel on this earth. She's no longer with us. I remember in 4th grade, we were swinging on the swings, and I was getting to know her, and she was getting to know me. I came from a very prejudiced family, but you know, children, that's a prejudice parents impart on the children, not a feeling that children have. And we were on the swings one day, and swinging, you know, as high as we could, and we sort of slowed down for a minute, and she started to tell me about the threats her father was getting, and how people were calling, they were throwing bricks through their windows, trying to set their house on fire. And I said, wow, your daddy must be so afraid. And she turned to me in her very theatrical presence and said, in the 4th grade, my daddy ain't afraid of nothing. And she was right. And he did make an incredible impact, and this school was such a white school. And they came in as grand nobility and changed everybody's mind about what was going on in Atlanta at that time of prejudice. So, just to let you know, I mean, I did have some insight to that family, and they were a really grand family.
Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I need to say something there. It's been 12 years since I've been to church. I grew up going to church. Since my wife passed, right after my wife passed, I lost my faith. You have helped me today. You have helped me understand more about myself. And I really like the way you have challenged us, all of us, to get involved, to stay on top of things. Don't roll over. And thank you for that.
Amen.
Thank you very much. And I really have enjoyed today. I will be back.
We're so glad.
I might die after this, because this might be my last grand miracle to get.
Thank you, Rick. Well, I couldn't do what I do without everybody in here. Because this community has lifted me up. And we lost our daughter 2 years ago to a brain tumor. And these people have lifted me up every step of the way. So we're all in this together. Thank you, Rick. Anybody else have a? Yeah.
This is a correction from earlier. Our women's meeting at Landrum Library is on the 2nd Wednesday of each month, which will be December the 11th. And Alyssa, do you know whether we made it at 2 o'clock? Because of yes. So December the 11th at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
And I second what you said about this whole congregation, if you want to call it, fellowship, Ernie, every one of you in here. When I came here in January, after losing my husband the previous March, I was and needing that kind of strength to move forward. And I want you all to know, deep within my heart, that the connections and just the smiles, the comments, the friendliness that you share with me have helped get me through this year in a more healthy way, and to go beyond myself and reach out to others. Thank you. Thank you all.
I just wanted to piggyback on Annie's comment. I too have been reading the UU magazine, and this issue is so helpful for us because it tells you about all the different committees and organizations that you can get solace from, get direction from, and it also talks about finding what your passion is to preserve, whether it's democracy or even the climate. They had an article about building these little native forests in little urban areas to keep our ecology alive. So there's so many things that can lift your spirits, get involved in, like Ernie said, and not just sit back.
Let's close with hymn 1, 2, 3. We'll just sing through that acapella. That'll be our closing. Hymn 1, 2, 3.